Hi guys, how's it going? Welcome to our KlunCast number 6. Here today, I'm with Coach Klun,
Hey guys, how you doing?
and we also have our very special guest, Coach Dave Lopez.
Hey, how's it going? Appreciate you guys having me. Thank you.
So Coach Lopez is the head coach at St. Pete's High School. And we're just gonna do a few questions here, have a nice chat with him. So Coach, our first question that we have here is, how did your passion for basketball just come about in your life, and how did you decide to become a basketball coach? Just
Yeah, I mean, it started at a young age when I was young. I had two older brothers that were playing, and I grew up, during the times of Michael Jordan and the 90s and 80s when Magic and Bird, when basketball was really becoming popular in the States. And my brothers loved it. So I was the little kid in the side when my brothers are playing. And I'm just running up and down as a 5, 6, 7 year old and just couldn't keep a ball out of my hands. So, my parents eventually put me in some leagues and I started playing and I was just obsessed. I loved it and just continued playing. And I started doing camps and you just couldn't keep me off the court. I was a gym rat. So any chance I could, I was, dribbling in the house or just playing around. So my parents, they kind of saw that, I kind of liked basketball a little bit. So I just kept playing and got more involved, got more into competitive basketball, and all through middle school, high school, played a couple years in college, and then when I was finished, the game of basketball did so much for me. I was able to travel, meet all kinds of people, make all kinds of friends. So it's time to get back, and felt like I had a pretty good knack for the game. So at that point, I just turned around and wanted to give back and help other kids and try and teach them. And that's when I got into coaching. And I've been doing it ever since. So it's been a long journey, but it's been awesome. And it's been a lot of fun and very rewarding.
awesome, awesome.
Awesome. So, tell us a little bit about when you started coaching. Um, what are some of the first experiences that you had as a coach that um, made you see the game different? Like, obviously the transition from player to coach, there's always a few things that um, open your eyes to a different side of basketball, right?
Yeah, for sure. So being a player, the game came pretty natural to me, and I was always a very hard worker. I was very determined, so practicing 2 3 hours a day and then practice ends and then I go and on my own and still practicing at my house or in the backyard, or I was practicing 5 6 hours a day. So I was very committed and dedicated, and so that's one of those things that I brought to me trying to be a coach is having that same sort of dedication to where I'm putting in hours in the gym with the team and then afterwards watching film and stuff like that. And so coming into the coaching aspect of it, I have those expectations for me and myself, both when I was a player and as a coach. So now, one of the things that I see transitioning from player to coach is, trying to get those guys to be committed the same way that I was, and trying to get them to put in the work that, helped me be successful. Because I think that's part of both being a coach and a player is recognizing that, you have to put in work. And sometimes you get guys that, aren't as committed, and sometimes you get guys that are. And so you kind of realize that it's a lot more fun to work with those guys that are committed, that are willing to put in the work. And then sometimes, you kind of bring along other guys that aren't as committed, and you can see the difference between the players. You can see who's working hard and who's not, and who's putting in the work and who's committed and who's not. So I think that's been one of the biggest things I've noticed is seeing guys, the guys who actually, and girls, that play, who actually rise, because they're putting in the work. And that's one of the best parts is seeing people succeed. So it really just depends, how much these players want to put in work and how much they want to get better. And so that passion that I have for the game, it feeds off the passion when you have those players that want to work, just as much as you did or even more.
Yeah, for sure. And then speaking to that with high school players, what are the main things that you look for when you're putting together your team for high school? What kind of stuff are you looking for in on those high school players?
Yeah, I'd say for the first and foremost, kind of like I was just touching on, is commitment. You got to be committed. You got to be willing to put in the work. I think you got to love the game, and you got to be patient too. The biggest thing is you can have all the skills, on the court, work hard, and put together your game, and then at the same time, there's a lot of things about you as a person that are going to be able to be successful. I tell my guys all the time, basketball is it's all repetitions, like when it comes to practice and drill work. And sometimes it can be boring if you're doing the same drill over and over and over again. But at the end of the day, that's how you get better, is doing those drills over and over. And if you're committed and you love the game, it isn't boring. It's fun, and it's challenging, and that's what makes you better. So I think that's one of the biggest things I look for as far as people that I want to play for me, is that they're willing to put in the work, they're willing to put in the repetitions and the drills, and they want to get better, and they love the game. And if you love the game, then you're willing to do it. I tell guys all the time, if you prefer to, be surfing, or you want to go play video games, or if you enjoy doing something else, then go do something else. But when you step in the court, it's time to work and it's time to get better. And there's a lot of guys that, that's how their mentality is. And so that's one of the things I look for, is that, you're just willing to put in the work, and you want to be in the gym and get better, just having an overall love for the game.
Nice. Perfect. Yeah. And I was actually curious. I was gonna tell you, so you're the coach at St. Pete High School. That Did you start coaching there? And how long ago did you start coaching? And maybe tell us some memories, some of your favorite memories as a coach, throughout your career.
Yeah, so it's St. Pete Catholic High School, because we do have a St. Pete Catholic High School. So we're St. Pete Catholic. So there's two St. Pete high schools, one Catholic and one a non-denominational. So I'm at St. Pete Catholic. I was raised Catholic, and I actually went to school there. I played there, so I was on the team, way back when I was young. And so that's kind of where it all started for me personally, with my memories, was just being in the gym and having a packed gym, and having a successful team, and going far in the playoffs and things like that. And then I went on to college. So when I was done playing, I came back to home, to where I'm from, and I had that itch to get back into coaching. And so the coach that I had was still at the school. And so I called him. I said, "Hey, you want some help?" And he said, "Yeah." So I actually came back when I was real young, fresh out of college, to just be an assistant with him, and volunteer. And so I was showing up, 2, 3 days a week, because I was working full time, and that's pretty much all I could do. So I was just coming a few days a week, just trying to help out. And I did that for maybe 8, 9 years or so. And then eventually I got into a position at work where I could be full time. And so I became a full time assistant, and I was around more, and committing more that I was able to. And then I was still coaching with the coach that coached me, and eventually he decided it was time for him to retire. So when he retired, it was no brainer for him to just hand me the program and take over. I had some really big shoes to fill. But I've been leading the program over there for 8 years now, going into my 9th year.
Nice, nice. And out of those 9 years, I'm sure you have a lot of teams that you enjoyed very much coaching. What would you say, like, was when you're building the culture of those teams? What are the main things that you're getting through to players, and what are the main characteristics that you want on your team every year?
I think for me personally, it's when you're coming into talking about a culture. Like I said, I'm very big on hard work and dedication. I think anything that you do in the game of basketball, is going to make you successful for life. And you can make that analogy with any sport. And my sport of choice is basketball. So when I have the attention of these kids, for practice and for games and the time that we're around each other, that's my main my main teaching point to these kids is, if you want to be successful at something, you got to commit, you got to be dedicated, you got to work hard. there's always going to be other people working hard too. So you're going to have to outwork those people, trying to find a job or in a relationship or whatever the case is. The lessons that you learn in sports is what's going to make you successful in life. And so that's where I try and teach these kids those things through sports, through basketball. So I use a lot of analogies throughout, my coaching practices and games, both if you want to be successful on the court or in the classroom or whatever it's going to take, it's all the same. The difference is we're engaging in an activity that we all enjoy and love. So we're playing basketball. So I always tell the kids too, when they start getting distracted, I'm not up here trying to run math equations. I'm not trying to teach you, scientific equations. We're talking about basketball. Let's have some fun with it. And you should be wanting to be here. So I think that's part of the biggest thing with the culture is just establishing the ideas of how to be successful in life and then using the sport of basketball to do that. And you can see also when you're developing culture, it really depends the kind of kids that you're dealing with. I mean, you have some kids that are into it. You have some kids that aren't. You have some kids that get distracted. You have kids that have issues going on at home. You have their own lives that they're dealing with and their own social things that they're going through with school and boyfriend, girlfriends, and, friendships and, all the things about growing up. So they have a lot going on too. So, sometimes it goes from coaching to mentoring to being a father figure to, hey, can I have a couple of bucks? Cause I can't, we don't have anything to eat at the house or, whatever it is. So it's really all encompassing, but the culture is that ultimately you're a family. And because, you spend more time together at practice and games and going through it sometimes than you do with your own families. And so it really is a building relationships and family-like atmosphere. And we try and take care of each other and look out for each other. And every time, every year at the end of our season, I always tell the guys that are moving on as seniors, you're always welcome. And these are the moments that you're going to remember forever because, high school basketball only lasts for 4 years. So it's limited. There's a time frame for it and you're going to miss it when you're done. But those are the things that you're going to remember the most is, the locker room stuff and being together and working together and yeah. And you remember the wins for sure.
Awesome. And I was thinking also here to ask you, we obviously Brazil and US have different ways of competition in basketball. So we have a lot of kids watching probably that are dreaming about going to college and high school in the US. So if you could just tell them how the timeline works for the season a little bit, like preseason, season games, your conference, playoffs, how does it work throughout the season?
Yeah, sure. So our season and, we're in the States, most of the states all kind of have their own separate seasons and the way that they run things, but they all go about the same time. So in Florida, we go from usually like the last week of October, first week of November through basically March, like the first week of March. So, the dates change year to year, but basically that's our high school basketball season. And so, we have rules in place about when we can start practicing, when we can start playing games, and then, set dates for the playoffs for districts. So we are allowed to play 25 games. And so we schedule those. And then, we're practicing, 5-6 days a week, depending on how many games we have or whatever. And then we do have, we call it a preseason jamboree. It's just a term that we have. But basically, we have 4 teams. We play, it's like a round robin. The games are preseason games, so they don't count for your record. But it's just kind of like warm-up games. And then the season will start and it goes, from usually around Thanksgiving time. We have a lot of teams will start their year off with a Thanksgiving tournament. And then we usually play through, December. And then there's always usually like a Christmas tournament or a New Year's tournament, or some teams will do both. And so you'll play 3-4 games in a row, throughout the Christmas break, like when, kids are out of school and most families want to be vacationing and whatnot, but, we're playing basketball through the holidays. So we'll play a Christmas tournament or a New Year's tournament, depending on the schedule and financing and budgets and all that. And then when we start the new semester, second semester, we'll play through January and February. The end of February is basically the when the districts start. So after the end of your season, you play your 25 games, and then we have our district tournament. And so all the the state's broken down the way that we have Florida is that there's different classifications based on the population of the school. So all the schools in ranges, let's say you have 500 kids, the range might be 300 to 600, for example. So all the schools in the state of Florida that have 300 to 600 kids would be in the same classification. And so we have 7 classes of different populations. They actually change it every 2 to 3 years. So might be off on the numbers, but they change it every 2 to 3 years just to readjust for changes. And so they actually just changed it this year. And then they break it down regionally in the state. So you'll have, the Panhandle of Florida, which is the northwest side, the Jacksonville, Daytona Beach, northeast side, and then the southwest side with all Miami area, and then the southeast side, which is where we are in Pinellas County and all of that side of the state. And then each region, so there's typically 4 regions, and then each region breaks down into several districts depending on how many schools are in the area. And so, first you got to play your district schools, and then out of that region, the state will rank the top 8 teams in the region. So if you can win your district, you'll advance. Or if so, there's 4 district winners that will advance, and then there's 4 at-large bids, the next 4 best teams. And so those are the 8 teams that will advance. And then those 8 teams will have, it's just a tournament, kind of much like the March Madness college basketball tournament, where it's a one and done. And you win, you advance; you lose, you're done. And you play to the regional championship, and then the 4 regional champions will play for the state tournament. And then a couple games, and we'll see who wins the state. So there's going to be a state champion for every classification.
Nice, that's awesome. That's great for
Yeah.
the kids here to understand how it works a little bit too.
Yeah.
As I said, most of the kids here in Brazil that are watching, a lot of them at least, really want to go to high school, to college in the US. So if you could give them some suggestions, some pointers on what they should be working on and off the court to achieve that goal.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I would say there's a lot of different skills that can translate to being successful in basketball. And I think it's so easy to, if you're watching the NBA, I mean, right now there's a lot of guys that can shoot. So everybody's shooting threes, and it's a high skill. It's a high skill to shoot threes. And you see, I have my kids coming in, everybody wants to shoot threes, and it doesn't always work that way. Basketball doesn't always work that way. There's so many different aspects to the game that you can be successful. So I would say first and foremost, talking from a skill wise, because I already kind of hit on the whole being dedicated, committed, and working multiple hours a day. But first and foremost is you got to be able to take care of the ball. So like your ball handling skills, on the ball defense, being able to handle on the ball pressure, things like that. How do you take care of the ball? Are you a guy that just passes it and they're always getting tipped? Are you protecting the ball? Are you cradling it? Are you keeping it in your pocket? Those kind of things. So a lot of skill work based on handling the ball, both with the dribble and without. If you have the ball and somebody's in your face, you got to be able to combat that. You got to be able to pass around that or handle somebody in your face. And then with dribbling, are you a guy that's constantly getting the ball stolen from you? So being able to protect the ball with a guy defending you, whether he's quicker than you or not, right? There's all kinds of different situations. So really being able to handle and take care of the ball, being able to make good passes without him getting intercepted, that's kind of a very basic skill that if you can't do that, maybe you should be playing another sport. But, you can always be working on those skills to increase your skills to be good at it. And again, if you work at it, you'll get good at it. So the first thing I would say is being able to handle the ball. The second thing is obviously an athletic ability. A lot of guys are gifted athletically, some are not, but you can always work on that. Are you a good jumper? Are you fast? Are you quick? Are you athletic? There's guys that play this game that aren't very athletic, but they know how to use their bodies. They know how to use their athleticism to their advantage. So being able to control your body. So there's a lot of agility work, a lot of sprints, a lot of calisthenic exercises to work on. So you can be able to control your body to play the game. So that's a big part that I think a lot of people don't consider. But also, jumping ability, being able to be explosive and jump. So you have, your ball handling side of things, your body, your athleticism, being able to run up and down and jump and things like that. And then ultimately, coaches want guys that can score the ball. So you don't have to be sitting there shooting threes, but if you're close to the layup is the easiest shot in basketball. So, as long as you can make layups, you're okay. But you're always working on your shot. You should be, you can go through the list, but you should be making at least 500-600 shots a day, from all the different spots on the floor. But being able to shoot and score, that comes with touch. That comes with handling a ball, getting shots up. You can't nobody's going to walk on a court and not practice and be able to make shots. That just doesn't happen. So you got to go out there and put in the time and effort to shoot and get shots up and make sure that you're doing it the right way, and being able to score. And then, some guys are better at it than others. So you have some guys that may not be very good at scoring. So you better come up with something else that you can contribute to the team so you can be an excellent defender. I tell you what, I have guys on my team that they can't score very well, but they'll go out and guard the best player in the court, and they take pride in that. Those guys will always be on the team, and they're always going to get minutes. So if you love playing defense, you don't have to be a good scorer, but go out there and stop the guy who's their best players. That's a great guy to have on the team. You need that. So loving the defense is I can go into a whole talk about, being a good defender and loving defense and how to play defense. But that's excellent thing that we need. And then being able to rebound, boxing out is a skill. Rebounding the ball greatly contributes to the team. And, it's easier if you're taller, but you don't have to be tall to box out. So the reason why I bring that up is because everybody, watches basketball and they see guys shooting threes and everybody's making shots. There's guys that don't make shots and don't score that are very important to the team. So part of playing the game is understanding what you can and can't do, and trying to increase the skills that you need work on, but then also at the same time taking advantage of the different aspects of the game where you can excel. And so you may not be the best scorer, but if you can get rebounds, box out, and play defense, you're going to play. So it really just depends, from an aspect of what coaches want. It's what can you bring to the team? What can you contribute? And it's not just scoring and shooting threes. I mean, that's obviously we need that too. Hopefully you can do that too. But, I want to emphasize the fact that, you need people that can score, and then players that can't score, they can still contribute and they'll still play a lot if they can do other things that are helpful for the team.
That's awesome, Coach. I think there's a lot of kids that need to hear all that. Because like you said, they all want to come in shooting threes and just think about scoring and stuff. But at the end of the day, after you get to a certain level, if they're trying to go pro or high level in college anyway, everybody can shoot, everybody can score. So you have to be able to do all those extra things that are gonna end up being the difference between making it in college at a high level and in the pros and everything. I think that was great. And hey, there was a great talk. I think a lot of the kids that are watching are gonna be very happy about hearing everything that you're saying, understanding how the high school season works, everything that they got to work on. I think those are great messages for the kids there. And thank you very much for being on the KlunCast number 6 with us. It was a pleasure having you here.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. That was fun. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and hopefully in the future we're gonna be able. We've been talking about bringing you over for a camp here in Rio, so the kids can get to know you personally after seeing you online too.
Yeah, I'd love that. Got to make sure we make that happen for sure.
Awesome.
Yeah, thank you so much. Coach Klun and Coach Lopez. You guys, as so happy for you guys to be here sharing your knowledge with us, and just I think the more we talk about basketball, the more we can teach kids, and not only the kids, to just be able to talk about basketball. That's awesome. And yeah, thank you so much, you guys, for watching the KlunCast here. And yeah, we'll see each other. Thank you so much. Bye, guys.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Take care. You guys have a good one. Appreciate it. Thank you.